victories that I love so dear bring the power of a new era to me!
Hey guys, this is LeaderHuzen from Team Cardfighters United, bringing you a deck profile on Messiahs. This is the G Messiah build of the deck. It's my personally preferred version of the build, and it's not like a mix of Freeze Ray or Zodiac or whatever you will have, Chaos Breaker, whatever. This is just pure G Messiah. Obviously our starter is Neon Messiah, because we're playing this build. Obviously it's the most solid starter in my opinion. It's a lock target that you want to have. Search a stride fodder. It goes to soul, fuels, alter ego. It's all in all a solid card. Trigger lineup, we play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 crit and 2 draw, and of course 4 heal. 10 crit because this deck has a lot of crit pressure. You don't want to stall the game too much with this deck because we don't play a Legion. So in that sense, you want to just kill them as quickly as possible, and crits apply the best pressure for the deck. So in that sense, I play 10 crit. I do play 2 draws, mainly because of the fact that it can go to soul for the draw skill, and if I check it, then sure. But I don't play too much because draws prolong the game, and in this build specifically, I do not want to do that. It is Link Joker lock, and that does prolong the game normally, I agree. But at the same time, you have crit pressure, so you can speed up the game at any point since all your aces gain crits and such. So yeah, that's the trigger lineup. I do not recommend more than 3 draws in a Messiah deck, personally. Okay, so for grade 3s, we play 4 of our main boss, Alter Ego Messiah. He has 2 skills. The first skill is on stride, you counterblast 1, you lock one of your own rear guards, and then you lock one of your opponent's rear guards, and then your stride at Vanguard gains 5k. The locking one of your own rear guards is part of the cost, so even if you don't have, rear guards, you can't lock one of your opponent's rear guards unless you lock one of your own. Some people make that mistake sometimes, I find. His second skill is GB2. Whenever something is unlocked, you draw 1 by soul blasting 1. All in all, a solid card, really. He works well for the deck. He gives you more locked pieces for your strides to make use of them. He lets you draw through his GB2s, sustains your resources and such. All in all, a great card. For our second grade 3, like I said, this is pure G Messiah, so I play 3 of Neutron Lady Star Gunner. She is overall does what I want for the deck, really. She locks one of your own cards and locks one of your opponent's cards. You don't have a lot of ways in this deck to lock 2 front rows in 1 turn, so in that sense she is good, but more so the fact that she locks 2 cards by herself. Having more ways to lock is always good in this deck. For grade 2s, we play and yes, that was 7 grade 3s. So for grade 2s, we play 4 Arrestor Messiah. This card is basically when it's called, if you have a Vanguard with Messiah in name, it gets 2k and a skill where after it attacks, you lock itself, and then you choose up to 1, so you can choose not to lock anything, up to 1 rear guard in the back row. Either your back row or your opponent's back row, and you lock it. Overall great card, like a free way to lock, so definitely a 4 of, and it works well with all your aces that unlock their stuff like Amnesty and Excelix. In that sense, this card is just great because it's just more attacks, and you keep your opponent's back row locked down, or your own if you want to have more targets for the restand and such. Next we play 4 Lady Battler. I play 4 of her because she is very necessary, I find. And there are a lot of combo plays that you can do with her, but the point is that she locks 1 rearguard for free, and she gains power as well. So even if you lock her booster, then she's still hitting something, regardless. But yeah, that extra lock is always good. It's always good to have more cards to lock, like the Restore and her, and the Neutrality Star Gunner, because the meta at the moment is a control meta. So you don't have the best of ways to keep things on board that can lock stuff like Duskblade or whatever. We don't play that because we don't have like as much sustenance on the board with this meta to work with it. These are just faster and, in my opinion, better. Next we play 4 of Awakening Messiah. This card will probably change after GBT08. I will still like play 2 of it, but this card, like, the problem with it is that it suffers to the control meta because it does nothing by itself also. You have to have it on board before you lock stuff, so either it stays on the board and you lock it with Alter Ego, or you use one of the Lady Battler and Lady Gunner to lock it, or one of your strides, I don't know. But the point is that this card, like, oh, it's good, it's a great card, it's just the issue with it is that it does nothing on its own. However, if you do have other rear guards that lock, then it's a great card. Like Lady Battler, it lets Lady Battler restand after it unlocks, because this card's skill is when it unlocks, you give something 2k and you restand it. There have been situations where you have 2 of this, like one in the front row, one in the back row, and then you unlock both at different intervals, and that way you go 13, 15, and then whatever stack triggers an attack a 3rd time with Lady Battler. I'll explain this combo a little later when I reach the grade 1s. But yeah, we play 4 because I want to see it consistently if I want to use it. I will probably take out like 2 of it for the new Black Dwarf Lady Battler, because that card is honestly really good. Like for the fact that we have rear guards that unflip damage in the grade 1s. But she's a really good card, and I think that she'd do more than what Awakening Messiah does, especially in this one. Okay, for grade 1s, we play 4 Stride Enablers. This is a Stride deck, so I mean, if you're not playing 3 or 4 Stride Enablers, you need to have either a really good reason for not doing it, or your deck just won't be able to stride that much and it'll mess you up, especially in a G deck. This is a G Messiah focus deck and you want to stride. Most decks nowadays need to have 4 Stride Enablers. Or 3 at least. I recommend 3 or 4. Then we have 4 GPG, or the new Perfect Guard. This Perfect Guard, you do counterblast a lot in this deck, and while we do have like things in the deck that can unflip, like Sacrifice Messiah, we sometimes might need downflip, especially since Sacrifice Messiah, which is next grade 1 that we play 4 of, won't last long on the board because of the control meta. This card is a really good card, don't get me wrong. This card, I really think that you should be playing 4 of it, but that's up to you, of course. But this card, its skill is when something is locked on the board, you lock itself, and then you give something on the board plus 3k. And you unflip 1 damage. So overall, it's just a really, really good card. Especially when comboed with your G Guardian, the Demon Maxwell. Because then you can cross-guard your Vanguard. But yeah, that's why I say play 4 of this. It's really good, it helps sustain. The issue is that in the control meta it won't last on the board that long. Then we play 2 of the Lady Battler of the White Dwarf. This is the card that goes through the combo with the Arousal Messiah. So basically, your strides have the ability to unlock anyway, so what you do is you have her on the board, and then you have, let's say, Lady Battler, and then 2 Awakens, like this. And your Vanguard is obviously here, so let's just put a random stride here. Possibly Secret Rare and this Messiah, but anyway, you have these locked already, and then like, I don't know, something else random that's locked here, it doesn't matter. Or have this locked through Lady Battler's skill plus 4 for her, and then you just go 13. You swing with Vanguard, skill. You unlock these 3, gain the crit and everything. His skill triggers and you restand Lady Battler, giving her plus 2k. Stack triggers on Lady Battler unless your opponent already damaged check a trigger. But the point is, you give this more triggers just so you can have like a better swing, because this thing is gonna restand again. So you go 16. It doesn't matter what this grade 1 is. It can be anything. It can be a Sacrifice Messiah. If it's this as well, then good luck. Then enjoy. But after you do this swing, you go 22 right now without triggers, and then you use her skill, where she gains plus 4k, or like she gives the rear guard boosting 4k, and you unlock something. When you unlock this, she will restand and gain 2k. That does not mean that the attack that this attack was cancelled. It just means that this thing has already restood and gained another 2k. So now it can do a third attack on its own. So in this turn, you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks just by having 2 of these and this on the board. Now, after GBT08 and the fact that I will be probably replacing 2 of these with Black Dwarf, I'll probably take 2 of these out for 2 of Dark Metal Chameleon, because this deck does suffer to the control that we have in this meta. And this, like, Dark Metal Chameleon, like, it's not really an answer, it's just a backup that you can have, because like, it helps you in the matchup. It's usually something that won't die unless they defeat Flare you or whatever, because everything in the meta at the moment is usually control. It's Gear Chronicle, Kagero, what have you, Mega Colony. So this is somewhat helpful, but it's not really an answer because things like Defeat Flare, Revolution, or whatever can deal with it. But I might play it mostly because Black Dwarf uses a Counterblast and I want to have more ways to unflip. I won't need this that much later on if I'm taking out Awakings anyway. But yeah, that's it for the grade 2s and the grade 3s and the grade 1s triggers, and now we move to the G zone. Our first stride will be Snow Elements Blizza. This card, usually it's your first stride because you want to turbo your GB2 for Alter Ego. You want to plus some cards. And you need to have a face-up Amnesty Messiah to use your second stride, which is Excelix. So that's usually what Snow Element Blizza unflips, unless you feel amazing and you're able to unflip it and you decide to flip Sea Breeze just to get that extra Amnesty stride turn. But I mean, it depends on the situation. But yeah, Blizza is just great overall. Like, it's a decent card for the deck. It works as a late game Punisher if you somehow decide that, oh well, I'll just first stride into this. But the point is that it helps Alter Ego just turbo your GB2 when you get extra advantage on your first stride, which is always helpful because this deck, like I said, we're in a control meta. You need to have as many resources as possible. Otherwise, you'll just get annihilated, which is not that hard to happen. Now the Kagero has like Titan, Defeat Flare, Denial Griffin, etc. etc. Anyway, then after Blizza we play 4 Amnesty Messiah. Props for 1 secret rare again. But his skill is pretty much when he attacks, you can +1, unlock as many cards on the board as you want, and if you unlock 3, then this unit gets +1 critical. It's a decent card. The issue is that lately we use it as fodder for the next stride, which is Excelix. Excelix is the better Amnesty because his skill is when he attacks, you can +1. You unlock again as many units as you want, and then anything that unlocks on your board gains 3k, while anything that unlocks on your opponent's board gets retired. Usually you won't unlock things on your opponent's board. It's very rare when that happens because you want to keep them locked, but that's just an extra bonus that I think is pretty sweet. There might be some pesky things on their board that you think that you might not be able to lock later and you just want to retire them, so like a special booster, I don't know, Negro Bone, another Sacrifice Messiah, I don't know. Other than that, yeah, it's usually your finisher. Usually your first stride will be like Blizza, G-Flip, Amnesty with the skill, and then you can immediately second stride into Excelix, just so you can pressure them early. And things that unlock on your board immediately unlock as stand, so you have ways of making multi-attacks with the rest of Messiah and other things that are locked anyway, that attacked. Next we play 2 Transcells Messiah. This card is the answer, well, not an answer, it's a backup for when your board gets wiped, because when your board gets wiped, you're unable to use Alter Ego's GB2 to lock one of your opponent's things, so Transcells Messiah just jumps in and then locks everything on your opponent's board. His skill is basically when you place him on Vanguard Circle, you count +1, G-Flip a copy of himself, that's why you play 2, and you unlock everything that's locked, and you lock everything that's not locked. If your board is empty, or if you have like a combination situation where, like, I don't know, if you have like some things on the board that you can lock, you can still use alter ego before you use transcell skill, so you can make some combos with this. But the main point of this is that you just immediately lock your opponent's board for that turn without having to without having a board or whatever. Like, it's just a good way of stopping your opponent completely on that turn, and also helpful for the situation when your board gets wet. Really decent card. I really think you should play it for this deck. Next we play 2 Big Crunch. I don't usually go into this. It'll probably be one of the things that we take out for the new Flageolet Stride, but it is still a good card. Like, I'm not saying that it's not. It's just usually with this deck you're usually at more aggro than stall, like with CBD and things like that. With CBD doesn't have a finisher. His finishers are his crits. This deck has Excelix Messiah, Amnesty, and eventually Flageolet. So it has ways of pushing better than CBD and the other stall decks. They play 2 Big Crunch. His skill is +1. You gift up one copy of himself. Select 1 card on the board, and then everything in the same column as that unit gets Omega Lock. It's a decent card. It's really good. There was a reason why people played 4 of it, but I just think that in this deck, eventually we'll have to take these out because we're more aggro than the usual stall builds. 1 Seabreeze, because this deck, it is a pure G deck. So I mean, if you're not on GB1, then you're already just in pain. There was a reason why this deck was really hurt before Seabreeze came out, because grade 2 gaming was a problem and we couldn't do anything towards that. But yeah, Seabreeze. I don't think that Seabreeze should have existed personally, but it helps the deck like exist in the game, so I'm glad for that. And basically what it is when if your opponent doesn't ride while he's on grade 2, so grade 2 game, then you're able to counterblast 2, discard 1 on your next turn if you're on grade 3, and you can place this on your Vanguard Circle as a stride. So you can still use Alter Ego skill and everything like that, but the main point is you get access to GB1, so you have the ability to use a Restore, Neutron Lady, Lady Battler, etc. You can make your combo plays while they're grade 2 gaming you, and in all honesty, if you grade 2 game a deck that has this, especially if it's a deck that has lock, then you're gonna get tortured. Now, if you noticed, I am playing 13 strides, so that means that I only play 3 G Guardians. I don't think that 4 is an immense necessity, unless your deck has a way of sending back heals to the deck, so like Legion, or ways to refuel the tool that gets you the G Guard. But in a deck like this, no one can guarantee that you can get all 4 heals. So in that sense, I don't see no problem with playing 3 G Guardians only. If I especially like, normally I'd prefer to play 4 G Guardians, but the problem is that our G zone is very restricted. We need 4 Amnesties for Excelix, we need a Stride that turbos into it, we need Transcells, we need Seabreeze. So yeah, we really don't have that much like luxury to play 4 G Guardians, unless you want to reduce your offensive power, which I don't honestly recommend, especially in this meta. So for G Guardians, we play 2 of Demon Maxwell. This card is honestly just great. When you G-Guard with it, you lock one of your own back row rear guards, and it gains 5k shield, so it's pretty free in my opinion. But the reason it's so good is if you have this Sacrifice Messiah or any amount of Sacrifice Messiah on your board, when you use Demon Maxwell's skill and you lock something other than Sacrifice Messiah, you can trigger Sacrifice Messiah's skill, unflip 1, and give your Vanguard +3, so your Vanguard cross rights. And of course, if you have more Sacrifice Messiah and you're a god, then you just need 17k Vanguard on your opponent's turn. What are they gonna do? So yeah, great G Guard. I'm really glad that Link Joker got this. Mostly Messiahs, but yeah, it's a really free G Guard and it's decent. For the last one, we play 1 Screw. Dismal is a good card. I'm not saying that Dismal isn't a good card by playing this. I just think that in this control meta, this will save you more than Dismal. And it's a 25k shield. We don't have any G Guard that has 25k shield until GBT08. So in that sense, I prefer this. So yeah, that's the deck. I will probably be updating this with a new deck profile when GBT08 is released. But yeah, this is pretty much my G Messiah deck. Alright, thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next deck profile.